Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today on our call, we have Hylton, Karon, and Giancarlo Beevis of iFabric Corp. iFabric trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol IFO, and the company is trading at $4.80 with roughly 27 million shares outstanding, or about $128 million market cap. And that's actually on the TSX, not the TSX Venture. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andreola.
Great, thank you, Trevor. Yeah, excited to have iFabric here. I've followed your company for a couple of years. I'm fascinated by your products, which I hope we can spend a fair bit of time speaking to. But both Giancarlo and Hylton, thank you for joining us today. And I understand, Hylton, you've got a presentation that you'll be giving today.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time to hear our story. And I'm going to give a bit of an introduction, and then I'm going to introduce Giancarlo, who's head of the Intelligent Fabric division, and clearly with the investment community, that is the division we see as the future of the company and the growth potential of the company. And so to that effect, we have our first slide, which really just gives an overview of the structure of the company. We've got two independent divisions, Intelligent Fabric Technologies North America and Coconut Grove Intimates. To explain to people who don't know us, our three revenue streams for Intelligent Fabric Technologies, our focus is performance technologies for textiles, antimicrobial, antiviral, antibacterial, and some of the bigger markets being the medical, athletic, military, consumer, corporate apparel, linens, to name a few of the biggest segments. In the long term, the revenue stream will really be our long-term goal as a company is to not only affect soft surfaces, but to handle hard surfaces well. And I think Giancarlo will put some more color on that as well. So essentially, we will be a intelligent technology company. If you can touch it, we can treat it is really our long-term goal. Revenue stream 2 really is a highlight. Currently, what we do is we manufacture products, private label-y products for a variety of brands and retailers who've come to us not only impressed with what our technologies are capable of doing, but really harnessing and appreciating the fact that we're probably the only chemical company globally that also is able to design, manufacture, and give a finished product in terms of apparel to the consumer market as well as the medical market. So that has been a very dynamic area of revenue and growth for the company, and it is something that we see as a long-term play for us as a company. Leading off 2 leads us into 3, where we are launching our own brands, both in the performance and travel apparel, as well as in the PPE market. Once again, we'll elaborate on that further in this presentation. The other division, Coconut Grove Intimates, has really been our long-term company that we started in early 1990s. It's always been a cash positive business for us. The history of our company is everything to do with textiles and apparel. And the revenue stream for this division has been private label. We've got it's actually a non-exclusive license with Maidenform that we've had since 2011. So we've got a long-standing relationship with them, and we just recently renewed it. And then we've also got our in-house brands that we sell not only online, but to brick and mortar stores. And to the revenue stream, it really reiterates the point that we supply and distribute products to some of the most well-known intimate brands and retailers on a global basis. So that really just gives a synopsis of our operations, of who we are and what the 2 divisions are that make up iFabric Corp. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce Giancarlo, because these highlights really more speak to that division, and I think he can put more color on it. So Giancarlo, if you don't mind taking over from here, please.
Sure. Thanks, Hylton. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. So obviously, with Intelligent Fabrics division, one of our most topical products as of late has been Protex 2 AV, which is our antiviral technology that we tested at the beginning of the pandemic to be able to kill COVID-19 virus within 10 minutes when it touches a textile. So that's been the most topical and what's generated a huge amount of interest for our company as of late anyways. On top of the antiviral chemistry, we have had a flagship technology of Protex 2, which is an antibacterial version of that chemistry that we've been selling for a few years to a lot of different global brands. We have sustainable water repellency, moisture wicking, UV protection, along with a whole host of other technologies with a textile related application that we'll go through on a further slide further down. The advanced claims for the US EPA approval, obviously, we expect that to be a big catalyst for our company. And what we mean by that is all of our chemistries are already EPA approved. We kind of fall into a treated article claim as it stands right now, where it's inhibiting the growth of odor-causing bacteria and kind of light antimicrobial claims. So as we developed these technologies, we went back to the US EPA and said that, look, that might be good for a lot of the technologies that are out there and available on the market now, but we know that our technologies can achieve much greater things than just odor control. And we worked with them to develop a protocol that will allow us to make public health kill claims on treated articles and clothing and things of that nature. And so we've gone through with the EPA. When we went to meet them for the first time, they really didn't know how to handle that claim. So they asked us to work with them and co-develop the protocol that would be used to not only register and approve our technology, but to register, and approve any other technology in the future that wanted to make those public health claims. And kind of the reason why that's important is, first and foremost, we'll be the only technology company in the world that can make public health claims. Secondarily, when we have other companies coming behind us to try and register their products, we know the pitfalls of some of those other antibacterial agents that are available on the marketplace. And in developing our protocol, we're able to kind of put in pitfalls that would eliminate some of those other products that come to the market making all these robust claims that they actually don't work in real life and don't provide any kind of empirical benefit to an actual consumer. The global pandemic has created some huge upside for us. I mean, 24 months ago, we were talking to infectious disease control managers at hospital and healthcare systems. Today, we're talking about making antiviral hot yoga pants. I mean, what it's done is really brought the use of these antimicrobials on soft surfaces and textiles to the forefront. It's given people an idea of what they're capable of and how they can help them be protected in everyday life. So it's really, as terrible as it's been for the world, it's been a fantastic catalyst for us as a business. Some of our major customers, obviously Under Armour is a big one for us, Lululemon, Charismatic Brands, which is the largest retail scrub manufacturer in North America. Your Walmarts, your Targets, the North Face, Hanes, Kohl's, and Amazon are also some big players for us. And management aligned, about 74% of the company is owned by management. This is some of the key members, obviously Hylton and myself. Hylton Price, our CFO, has been with us forever and a day. And one of the other key elements here is Jason Gray. So Jason Gray is our Chief Science Officer. He helped develop that protocol I mentioned earlier with the EPA. He's the former Infectious Disease Control Surveillance Officer for the province of Ontario and really oversees every bit of scientific work that we do on all of our technologies, and has been a huge help to not only setting up the EPA protocol, but to also working with two major hospital systems that I'll further discuss later on to put some clinical trials in place utilizing our key antibacterial and antiviral technologies. Some of our board members, you see the three of us, the two Hyltons, myself. But what we did about 2 years ago is Mark Cochran, who is a longtime board member, we've actually elevated him to chairman of the board. And the reason we did that is as we approach these advanced claims on our Protex 2 and Protex 2 AV technologies, we really wanted to focus the board and refocus the company on a medical industry. And his experience working with Johns Hopkins and being an executive director there really provides a lot of insight and guidance for us as to how to attack those marketplaces. Cameron Grooms, another gentleman that we've added about, I'm going to say, a year and a half ago. He is the CEO of another biotech company in a different space for us here in Canada, and his guidance kind of navigating the Canadian regulatory landscape and some other key areas for us has been really welcomed. And I think this is something critical that's important for the investors to understand. So here we have a list of some of our technologies. Each and every line here can be its own business. So we've talked a lot about Protex 2 AV, which is our antiviral, and Protex 2, which is going to be our antibacterial kill claim. But Repeltex Eco Plus is also another important product for us. About 3 or 4 years ago, the industry, specifically the outdoor industry, has an issue with perfluorinated carbons in durable water repellents. And so every company and their brother came out with all these different non-fluorinated C0 technologies. The challenge with that is everyone rushed so quickly to get to the market with all these fluorine-free technologies. And when they were actually put in use, they didn't work because none of them could mimic the old fluorine versions of the chemistry and provide the same kind of efficacy. So what we did is created our own C0 or fluorine-free technology that actually works identically to the way an old C6 chemistry would. And why that's important, if you think about this with one of our customers, which would be someone like the North Face, has been a long-standing customer. They treat about 100 million yards worth of fabric with durable water repellent per year. So in that chemistry alone, with one customer, that's about a $30 to $40 million revenue stream just with that one technology, one customer. And so when we say all of these are their own businesses, they truly are. They can be kept in-house, they can be spun off into their own companies. There's a lot of different ways we can go with a lot of these different technologies. Dreamskin's another one. Dreamskin was developed initially to help people with eczema and dermatitis so that they could use treated clothing as opposed to heavy steroid creams and things of that nature to treat their skin ailment. And so while that's one avenue for Dreamskin to market, another one that we found is by putting it in wound care, because what Dreamskin does is it keeps your skin in a healthy environment to allow it to repair itself quicker. So if we can make wound care that combines something like Dreamskin that heals your wound faster with a product like Protex 2 that can keep infection and bacteria away, we have something that's revolutionary in the wound care space. And we're busy working with the FDA right now to go to market on a product that would feature both of those different technologies. Again, some of the other ones, Omega, which is an accelerated joint and muscle recovery technology for people who have circulation issues, for athletes who need to have speedy recovery of their muscles in between workouts. That's a new technology that we launched, I think, just about a year ago. That's got some very good traction right off the bat, and we see some good growth there coming into the future. And then again, all of these other different technologies can be spun off into their own pathway. This one's important for us. We've been making a lot of performance apparel under private label for some big national big box retailers and some brands under license. And so through our connections, obviously with the specialty chemicals and with manufacturing the products for big box stores and other brands, we decided why not join into the marketplace and start selling direct to consumers. And so under it will be our own specially owned brand that will have performance apparel and travel apparel that really focuses on what the technology can do to impact your daily life. And so kind of one of the big key moments when we started to do this, if you think about even just a water repelling hoodie so that you can be able to go to work and not be soaked in a light drizzle with a water repelling hoodie, or if you're going on the subway to your work downtown and someone bumps your Starbucks all over your suit, well, to have a water repellent agent on that so that you're not covered in coffee for the rest of the day is something that we can really do to show our consumer and drive brand loyalty by showing what its function can actually do day to day for them. And then Frontline was really brought on by the pandemic. As we saw everyone clamoring for PPE and trying to get masks all over the place, what we found out is not only were they not available, but also once they were available, they weren't overly effective because they don't have anything active on them to be able to kill viruses and bacteria. And so what Frontline represents is an entire line of personal protective equipment that will have an active layer of our Protex 2 AV technology to kill viruses and bacteria on the surface. You see a lot of people who wear masks, but they don't necessarily know how to take them off properly. So let's say you're wearing a mask and someone in front of you sneezes that has the SARS-CoV-2 virus in it, and that lands on your mask. The second you go to take your mask off and you're not taking it off by the ear loops, which most people don't, you have a chance for transmission there. And that's something that's actually launching this month, being able to be sold directly to consumer, while we work with another distributor to sell it into the medical community in Canada and the United States. Some of our upcoming milestones here, our US EPA advanced claim, we're expecting it relatively shortly. We provided them all the data that they need. The science has been reviewed by them. They're in agreement with all the science that we've submitted. Really, at this point, it's just waiting for the rubber stamp so that we can go ahead to the marketplace and make all the claims we've discussed. The owned brand launch for Underwritten Frontline, as I mentioned, Frontline is launching live on our website this week, this month, and Underwritten will launch summer of 2021. The clinical, go back there for 1 second. The clinical trials that I mentioned earlier, what we've done is we've contracted with 2 major hospital systems in the United States to be able to empirically show what scrubs and other textiles in a healthcare setting can do once they've been treated with our technologies, as opposed to just using an untreated scrub. So one of those hospital systems is actually the 3rd largest group in the United States. And we, as I say, one thing is to have the EPA claim that allows us to put a sticker on a garment that claims killing bacteria. Another thing to be able to empirically show the difference it makes by reducing bioburden in an actual healthcare setting. Those clinical trials will also use Repeltex on a lot of those scrubs to obviously just protect healthcare workers from the various fluids that they would experience on a day-to-day shift in a hospital. Thanks, Tina. We've kind of gone through these technologies, but I think it's important for people to understand. We talk about antibacterial, we talk about antiviral, and everyone thinks healthcare. Healthcare is obviously our biggest industry, but in the meantime, we do already sell a lot of our products, including the antibacterial agents, into things like hospitality, food service, and also athleisure and sportswear. And believe it or not, this kill claim that's bacteria specific is of great interest to a lot of these global brands. Guys like Under Armour and the North Face, people were already supplying. And in fact, they have created lines that are just sitting there waiting for this claim to be granted. So where the public health claim that we are going to achieve as the first company in North America to do so, it has such broad recognition across all these different areas. Protex 2 AV, I'll kind of stop here for 1 second. So we've discussed how we use it in textiles. Another big part of what this technology will do is we are working on developing what we like to call an all-surface coating. So if you can picture going into a Cineplex Odeon or a Skydome or a school, hospital, office building, any of that, and we can create an active surface on top of any substrate. So we've already got tentative approval from the Toronto Blue Jays to treat their spring training facility in Dunedin. We've been working with RioCan in Toronto to be able to treat some of their office spaces and commercial buildings. What we aim to do is, as Hylton said at the beginning of this, is if you can touch it, we can treat it. And so that you won't have to necessarily just clean every surface all the time, which is what we're experiencing during COVID. The companies can't keep up this kind of housekeeping. It's too expensive, it's too cumbersome. If we can provide an active surface that only needs to be reapplied once every 6 or 12 months, we believe that that's going to be something that will even push us further into the future and be a big catalyst for us going forward. We've seen some fantastic return on initial results. We're killing bacteria in record times. We're now testing it for viruses that we've had some positive feedback on. And we will go through the EPA process to get this registered very, very shortly, as soon as we conclude all the testing that's happening right now. But this is something that can really take our company to a new time and space. And make us very important to all kinds of healthcare, long-term care, penitentiaries. It's certainly a big focus for us going into the future. Coconut Grove, as Hylton mentioned, has been around for 30 years, and we've provided all of the different bra accessories and specialty bras into all of the major retailers you can think of: Walmart, Kohl's, Target, things of that nature, under our own brands, The Natural, and under private label and Maidenform. I mean, obviously with the pandemic, with brick and mortar being closed and products like this being used for things like weddings and all the other kinds of social gatherings, it's had a slight downturn during the pandemic. But everyone that we have spoken to, our customers, see it coming back full force once people are allowed to congregate again. In fact, we're already seeing signs in the US, given their aggressive vaccination campaign, that these are starting to come back. And obviously other retailers that we had been trying to get into for years pre-pandemic have now come to us, because it's somewhat of a niche market, but we've been very good at that niche market. And a lot of the guys that were there before are no longer there coming out of the pandemic. So it provides us with a unique opportunity to take advantage of that. This is just a portfolio of the different patents that we have. The Protex 2 AV antiviral coating is obviously patent pending. Another technology, Protex 2 AV Guard, is obviously the use of Protex 2 AV, but in a different manner. So not everyone's going to stop their or throw away all of their old linens or things of that nature. So say we go to Marriott Hotel. It's great that in their next batch of production, they might want to impregnate all of their bedding with Protex 2 AV to safeguard their patrons. But what do they do with the hundreds of thousands of bed sheets and pillowcases they already have in-house? And so how we've adapted the technology to deal with that is by creating AV Guard, which is a laundry additive that can be added in, similar to the way you would add a Downy in a final rinse cycle, to impart those antiviral and antibacterial properties on a one-time use basis to any kind of textile. So you have a golf shirt at home, you want it to be antiviral, you use Protex 2 AV Guard, and you'll be able to impart those properties to that at home. We're working on doing a program with Charismatic Brand, our scrub partner, where this will be private labeled by them, and we're also going to release a direct-to-consumer under our own brand sometime by the end of this year. Also working with some big box retailers to be able to get that into their programs, hopefully by the end of the year as well. We have a few patents around design in men's underwear that will be used in the Under It brand that we are launching this summer. Masks, we had a couple of different mask patents that we licensed out to a few people. And then obviously the patented solutions for Coconut Grove, a reversible wing bra and a breast lift that just give us some uniqueness in that market. And this is really just some of the articles that were written about us and our technologies. Fast Company wrote a fantastic article about us. We were in Forbes with the launch of the Under Armour Sport Mask. When that item first was being considered, actually Kevin Plank gave me a phone call on the weekend when he was thinking about making 100,000 masks to see how it would go. I think right about now they've sold about 27 million of them, and each and every one of those uses Protex 2 AV. Out of the mask phenomenon has come something else, which is called maskne, and it's the acne caused by people wearing these masks excessively with the sweat and things of that nature always on your face. And so from that, we're also working on incorporating Dreamskin and Protex 2 AV into the next generation of masks. Under Armour also is looking at a line of apparel that will use the technology, as I mentioned, with the kill claims and things of that nature. So this is really just some of the media coverage we've gotten over the last little while. Hylton, anything to add?
I think at this point in time, we've covered the highlights, and we'll gladly turn it over to Paul and Trevor if they've got any comments, any questions from anybody in the audience. We'd be happy to answer where we can.
Excellent. No, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to spend a little bit of time just talking the actual science. Like, how do you guys, blend fabric and these active ingredients? How does that work?
It's actually kind of a unique feature to it. So we don't need any special machinery. We don't need any special processing conditions. Essentially, what we can do is do it in dyeing and finishing. So as I turn your shirt there blue, I can also turn it antiviral. And so these different additives and formulations that we've developed are simply added either during the dye bath or in a finishing stage where we would just simply, it's not coating, but we'll call it coating for ease of understanding, where we coat the technology on the surface of the fabric. And because of our unique formulations, they're there durably and can stay for the lifetime of the garment. We've had some of our technologies last past 100 industrial strength washes, so we know that once it's on there, it's staying there. It's not like some of the other technologies that are out there that work for about 5 washes, and then you just have a t-shirt at the end of the day.
Let's talk a bit about that. You mentioned sort of others out there. Where do you guys stand in the competitive landscape? Who are your biggest competitors? What are your challenges competition-wise?
Yeah, I think there's a few different competitors out there. Obviously, the silvers and the coppers of the world. Silver's long been known to be an antibacterial finish. I think what happens is, because none of these technologies have ever been allowed to make public health kill claims, they've all been floating under this odor control, antimicrobial, loose kind of landscape. They've been able to add a lot of fluff to what they do. The fact of the matter is, silver's great if you can hydrate it. So if you want to make it into a hard surface disinfectant, you want to make it in wound care, you want to do it in that kind of thing, it'll work fantastically. I won't tell you, silver does have strong antibacterial properties. But when you're impregnating it into a textile or a dry situation, whether that's a handrail or a t-shirt, it can't work. Silver is not antibacterial unless it's fully hydrated. The way our technology works is that it uses the moisture from ambient air, and that's enough moisture for it to be fully active. So that's kind of the key advantage for us. So those are really the main competitors to us. There's some other guys out there which are quaternary ammonium compounds. I'm sure people have heard of the term Aegis. Again, that's really just a hard surface disinfectant, what you'd spray on your kitchen table at home to clean it, that they find a way to glue it to a textile. And the problem with that is the glue doesn't last very long. So it might be very strong when you wear it 1, 2, or 3 times, but it's not there for the long haul. And it's not active very quickly. Whereas Protex 2 and Protex 2 AV, as we have shown in various tests, can kill in minutes.
I'd like to just add a comment to that point. I think it's also very important for everybody to hear. We have no in-house testing. So every bit of data that we supply and every statement that we make is supported by international third-party laboratories. So everything we've done is documented evidence, and to that effect, we have our competitors calling on our major brands and major retailers on a daily basis. And so we invite our customers to do any and all testing that they feel is relevant. And we have built a comfort level to the point that they call us their technology partners, because everything we've done is with the proper science and with third-party independent laboratories. And that has really given a comfort level to our customers, who really appreciate the extent that we've gone to ensure that what we say is in fact the case. And their independent studies in a lot of cases have come back to say, you guys were a little underclaiming. We're really impressed. We've had a brand do over 200 different technologies, and their words, not our words, were not only did we come out #1, but we came out #1 by far. So we really have a comfort level, and people understand and appreciate we're not that company to blow a good story at people. We really do the work first. People ask why we've taken so long. We've spent multiple millions and many years to make sure that before we've even gone to market, we've got class-leading technologies.
I think one last point on that is, excuse me, is the sustainability side of what we do. There's a lot of the guys with silver and copper that are out there that actually just don't that aren't sustainable. They leak they leak downstream of dye houses and create dead ponds and things of that nature. They certainly aren't good for our environment. All of our technologies have a sustainability story to it. It's actually something that is at the forefront of what we do when we develop any technology. So I think that's a big advantage for us as well.
Now, I noticed that one of your big customers is Lululemon. Lululemon, obviously, everybody knows is really a leader in fabric technology. How do you guys land partnered with Lululemon, and sort of what's your sales strategy to companies like Lululemon and you know, Undergarment, all the different players out there?
Sure. Actually, Lululemon was a journey. They're one of the companies that put us through the ringer that Hylton kind of mentioned for us. If you can believe it, our antibacterial technology is being used for odor control, specifically with their product, not saving lives, just making sure we don't smell when we come from the gym. And they took it upon themselves to do a study. I think it ran nearly 8 months, where they had people come in, wear treated garments with our technology and with other technologies, and they'd cut the armpits out of the garments and freeze them so that the bacteria would die down, and then bring them out of the freezer to let it kind of come back out. And they'd hired professional sniffers. Believe it or not, that's a job, not one that I'd like, but they're out there. And that's kind of how we won that business. When you ask how do we approach kind of those companies, what we do is we do the opposite of what all of our competitors do. Our competitors typically go to the dye houses and the textile manufacturers and say, hey guys, we have this technology. We know you're servicing these different brands. Here's the price that we're going to charge you. You go and upsell it for us. Ours has been the complete opposite to that. We go to the brand and say, okay, guys, here's our technology. This is why it's better than what you're getting from dye house A, B, or C. And here's the transparency on cost. So I'll give you a quick story. When we first started doing business with Under Armour, we saved them about $3.5 million the first year they switched over to using our technology. And the way we did that was simply transparency on cost, where they were of the belief that the technology that they were using before us was, I don't know, 45 cents a yard, and our tech, and when it really should have been 35 cents a yard and still wasn't getting full efficacy. We came in with our technology with full efficacy and were able to give it to them for 30 cents a yard. And so that's kind of why these brands have come to us and believe in us, as Hylton says, as a technology partner, because we have that transparency on not only what goes into the chemistry, but what it costs to put it on their garments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so perfect. It led to my other question. Give us a sense of, on a retail basis, what does the difference in cost show on a product like this, a shirt or some sort of fabric product?
So it's very hard to just kind of give a broad strokes answer to that. So the way the technology works is it's done by a weight of fabric. So a heavier weight fabric, if you're talking about, let's say, a jogging pant material that's 500 grams, that's going to be a 35, 40 cents. If you're talking about a lightweight material like 100 grams, it's going to be about 15 cents. So it's not an astronomical cost to the brand. They have their own calculation that kind of takes whatever the add-on is per yard that they receive, and that gets to their final retail price. But it's not inhibitive for anyone to be able to put these technologies on any of their clothing. So, and I guess when we started thinking about Under It as our own brand, one of the main reasons we did it was, it's great that we can go to Lulu and Under Armour and we can sell these different technologies, but the marketing first piece is always Lulu and Under Armour. It's not Protex too. And so what we wanted to do with Under It was actually make the technology the real forefront of the marketing campaign, and showing what it can do. And we can actually market and put multiple technologies on our garments, whereas the companies that simply just buying the technology from us don't have the room to do it.
Wow. I mean, this is such a big market, like the total addressable market just for even one category. Give us a sense of numbers. What kind of opportunity do you guys really see in the different verticals you have?
The addressable markets, actually, it's quite big when you think about it. There was a report released not too long ago, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, that says the antimicrobial textile market could be, Hylton, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it said 500 billion, something like that, along those lines.
The numbers are staggering.
Yeah. So I think that sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the question is so broad, and we've really tried to wrestle, Paul, with this. There are so many markets, and so we've really tried to be focused as a company, because we've got such growth potential. We're walking around every day internally that we're already a $50 million company on the way to 100 million. And I don't want to sound facetious when I say we're scratching the surface. There are so many areas of growth. I think one thing is very dynamic and important for the investment community to understand. If one reads, and we will gladly share these articles from recently the World Health Organization, talking about the next pathogen, the next pandemic, and this is not us blowing smoke at the market. This is the world, this is leading. The CDC are coming out with statements. So where every company has to have a design facility to come up with new products, and we've got just the opposite. We'll never catch up. This is a business that will never catch up with the pathogen problems in the world, both viral and bacterial. And Giancarlo just touched on it lightly, but it's worth repeating, that the long-term medical concern is bacterial infection. And so once, please God, we get our hands around COVID-19 and there could be other viral infections, the long-term biggest problem in the medical and in the community at large is bacterial infections. So we've already got next generation product in the pipeline that we're developing and working. I think we're also unique that a lot of, you touched on who our competitors are. Every one of our competitors have one technology and that's their business. We are really dynamic in that we've really designed a host of technologies that independently are quite forward-looking and quite pertinent in application, but really we are able to do hybrids where we can use 2 and 3, as we say in wound care, where we can have something that hydrates the skin to help the skin repair itself quicker, and at the same time have something that is the infection control technology. So we really have dynamic opportunities, and what is really happening is our customers are now coming. We're developing this next brand. We're developing this next area of business. We say to them, what performance characteristics would you like? And we then put together a technology suite for them. So it's really quite dynamic. So to answer the question in terms of size of market, it's scary. It's scary numbers way beyond what we, what we can touch as a company right now. The growth, to say that we can double this company for the next 5 years is not an understatement.
I think
year after year growth.
Yeah, I think that another thing worth noting too is that most of our competitors, as we say, sell one of the items we sell. They either sell antimicrobial, or they sell water repellent, or they sell heating and cooling technologies, whereas our company sells all of those things. Not only do we do that, we also manufacture the apparel and sell it either private label, under license, or under our own brand, which none of our competitors do. They're strictly chemical companies. We're an apparel and a chemical company, which gives us a strong edge and allows us to grow revenues in a multitude of different ways. And then I think the big piece when it comes to growing revenue going forward is the all-surface coating. I mean, even if we just got the contract to treat all the office buildings, all the malls owned by Cadillac Fairview across the country, I mean, you'd be busy for years. That's not to mention if we can talk to Air Canada and discuss creating an active inside of an airplane. All of those things are conversations that we have had or will have. In a lot of the cases we have had. The stadium and the cinema idea is something that, how are they going to get people confident to go back into all these spaces? Yes, everyone's clamoring to go back and meet with people and do all of these experiences. They also want to be safe, and there's such a heightened appetite to make sure that there's things that are there that can keep them safe without people actually having to do anything, which is the beauty of our technology.
I mean, I see a wealth of technologies here and of opportunities. Do you run the risk that you have so many opportunities to chase that you don't get very good at one? And then second to that question is, do you guys ultimately want to be the provider of a key technology to a bunch of different verticals, or do you want to dominate 1 or 2 or 3 verticals? What's your strategy?
I think as far as the different technologies go, we focus heavily on a few. So when I say some of our #1 or best performing technologies, as in Protex 2, AV, Repeltex, Eco Plus, those are guys we focus on. Some of the other items like Drytex, which is a wicking agent, or UV blocking, things of that nature, are things that we carry because brands want all of those functions and they don't want to get that from 8 different people, right? They want to have one technology provider that they know and trust and can have it. What we've done is simply taken things like wicking and UV blocking and made them better than what's currently available. So it's not something we're overly focused on, but what it is when we introduce one of our main technologies, we also have those simple add-on sales like wicking and UV to go along with what we do. So that's kind of how we deal with that. I mean, I don't know that we have any fear of creating too much interest and too many ways of making revenue. I think that the capital raise we're completing currently, or that we've just completed, is going to go a long way into ensuring that we have enough bandwidth to get to all of these opportunities as quickly as we can get to them. And that's kind of why we became public in the first place, was to create a vehicle by which we could raise funds when we needed to grow at a rapid pace. And the pandemic has provided that catalyst for us. And sorry, I'll ask you to repeat the second part of your question.
Well, let me just jump in, Paul. As a strategy, what we've done in the past, and it's an evolution, to be honest with you. We're growing in this business, and we're getting known really on a global basis. But I think what we've done in the past and what we've been successful is finding in certain key areas market leaders and working with a market leader who has an established marketplace to really partner with them and let them do their thing. And so it's going to be a bit of a mix. In certain cases, there will be market leaders that we will license on a very attractive and on a nice margin basis, where we will give them exclusivity as long as they, turning over. And that's only fair. We've got to remain relevant. As I say, we're working on next generation products. We're not going to sit still in any way, shape or form. But where we do see opportunities in certain areas where we can really grow as a business and supply finished product and build our own brands at the same time, we will take advantage of not only a chemical sale, but as a finished product sale as well, which is going to, give us a nice leg up as well. So we really have a bit of a joint approach to where we, how we go after different market segments. One has to appreciate, there's brands that really exist, they really own markets. So how quick, it's far easier and quicker to take a market where you're partnering with a market leader than try and create the wheel. So we're not arrogant, and we're not, we really believe that work, it's proven for us. We've got such loyalty. Just to give you an example, we started working with the North Face, which is part of the VF Corp. The VF Corp are probably the largest North American brand, in apparel brands and footwear, and they've owned Lee Jeans, and they've got a number of really popular brands. And their different divisions, they have meetings where all their fabric suppliers, supply different divisions. So all their heads or their technology people get together. And we've actually got contracts from their luggage division, we've spoken to their denim division now. So one division really likes us. They want to do so. Oh, don't waste your time spending 6 months a year researching antimicrobials, call this company. So we've actually got contracts from other companies in the VF Corp through our relationship with the North Face. So I think that our relationships are helping us with our sales as well.
Perfect. I'm going to take this chance just to remind everybody that's listening, if you have any questions, and I do see a number of questions already asked here, but if you have any questions, please let us know. I'll do my best to ask both Hylton and Giancarlo here. Okay, so you mentioned $11.5 million you just raised. Quickly, what are going to be the use of proceeds there? Where are you going to spend that money?
As I kind of mentioned, bandwidth to take advantage of the opportunities that we have, some research and development to accelerate this all-surface coating that we want to get out, some regulatory work that needs to be done in other areas of the world so that we can expand our consumer base. All of that, we're simply going to use it to grow the business, I guess, is the short answer.
Okay, perfect. And give us a sense of your financials, your margins. What do you guys, what's your gross margins on your sales right now, and what potential direction do you see it going?
I think as a blend of the whole corporation, we're probably in the high 30s and the low 40s But as our volume and as our retail offerings grow, internally we believe we should get high 40s to the low 50s is an achievable target over time. And we believe that those, and keeping in mind that we've spent a predominance of 7 figures developing a lot of the knowledge we have today, which is not going to be the same cash burn going forward. So as we've really built this library of knowledge from where we've started 12 years ago to where we are today, when I say 12 years ago in the chemical business, we've been manufacturers since 1990. The fact of the matter is our cash burn on a per unit basis is only going to go down exponentially, which should add to the bottom line. So as we grow, our bottom line GP should look rather impressive.
Also, as we go into our own brands, selling direct to consumers, obviously those margins are a lot higher than being a chemical supplier or manufacturing for a private label customer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, fair enough. What are your biggest challenges?
I think some, to be honest, we are spending, one of our biggest challenges, I think we're going to grow our staffing because we're getting so many inquiries right now that our business, and I think once again, it goes back to the raise, is that we are being inundated as we speak right now, which is such a compliment to us. But we really need to grow our staffing locally and overseas, because the best way to work in a market is to have local people within a market. We've got staff, our own staff in Taiwan, we've got people in Japan, we've got people in China. So whether it's the Asian market or North America or even South America, there are so much growth, and we need to grow offices and we need to grow our infrastructure. So I think that we've got the know-how. We just need to build our infrastructure out to take advantage of a global opportunity.
I think one that we refer to internally as time dribble. When you're working with these bureaucratic regulatory agencies, unfortunately, they don't move at the speed in which we would normally like them to. So at some point, in some cases, we're kind of just at their mercy, and we just have to go with the timelines they provide. But it seems to be getting better. The pandemic has really helped in that regard, where people are starting to realize that you're keeping things that can help the public away from the people if you bury them in red tape. And so we see them. And listen, after doing this for so many years, we've found ways to help expedite those things. We've been connected to certain groups who can help us get those things done. We've made very many connections, especially in the US, with some high-ranking senators and things of that nature that can help us get these things through in an expedited manner. So I mean, time dribble is one of those. At least that's my biggest frustration.
Gotcha. Listen, you guys had a phenomenal Q1. I'm trying to look at the numbers here, but you $7.5 million in revenue, over roughly 2.6 million the year before. What accounts for that kind of growth?
A lot of commercialization of projects that we started to work on at the beginning of the pandemic. You see, by the time it takes time for us to integrate our technologies into products that actually hit the marketplace. So a lot of these brands work on an 18-month calendar, and we can shorten that to maybe 8 months on a lot of different projects. And in a really special case where they find something they really want to get to market, they could probably do it in 3 or 4 months, which was the case with the sport mask from Under Armour. But it takes time. By the time the company listens to you about your technology, reviews all of your science, wants to do their own science. As I mentioned, that Lululemon experiment that went on 8 months to get to commercialization takes time. And as we've grown as a company, we've learned to do it a lot faster than we did at the beginning. And as the brands start to trust us, they speed up commercialization a lot faster. But that big boost in sales came from commercialization of some programs and the introduction of the Protex 2 A8 product to the marketplace, as well as some PPE that we got into the marketplace with while everyone was struggling to get it. We were able to take some contracts and do that as well. And so, I mean, also the private label business, private label apparel business, we worked with one big box retailer, and I think we started maybe 3 years ago with 2 or 3 programs. Now, by the end of this year, we're going to be up to 18. So we're doing really well in that private label apparel portion of our business as well. And that contributed to the big growth and will continue to the growth for the rest of this year and into next year.
So can an investor sort of expect that level of revenue on a go-forward basis, or is it really an anomaly? Was it sort of pent-up demand, or is this something that they sort of anticipate those type of numbers going forward?
Yeah, since we haven't released very many numbers publicly, we can't really say exactly, but I can say that we have put out some forward-looking statements in the past, and that what we can expect is that we are on track to hit the targets that we've put out previously. So this kind of growth that you've seen in the previous quarter, we're on track to continue that growth to achieve the targets we put out.
Okay, perfect. I take a couple questions we've got here, and one's around the intimate division. The way they've sort of phrased it is, it seems almost irrelevant to the rest of your business. Is it possible that it becomes a distraction? And would you ever consider spinning that out?
Absolutely. It's something that we've absolutely discussed. It doesn't have the exponential growth factor. One has to appreciate we started in that division, and it's been a cash cow that allowed us to get into the technology business. But we have absolutely, we're not blind, and we're not married to it. And especially the pandemic has hit it rather badly. I think that when we can resuscitate it to a level that we can spin it off and sell it off, and you know, should we get the right value for it, there's such growth and such dynamic opportunity within that. IFTNA is clearly the large focus of management and of the company going forward. So it's absolutely a pertinent question, and it's something we've got our eyes on, and at the right time we will entertain anything that makes sense for the long term of the company. It's not a distraction for us because it's a rather mature business for us. It's not really it's not a fashion item. We only make it in two colors, nude and black. So one has to appreciate it's a support functional part of, you know, people think of lingerie and get all carried away with the fashion aspect of it. We do not get involved in the fashion aspect, which makes it pretty much quite a stable business. Yes, there's seasonality to it, but it's a pretty mature business. It's not a strain for us. So we carry a lot of patents. We keep designing new items for it, but it's definitely on the radar that now that IFTNA has started to really flex its muscle, what's happened with the pandemic, yes, it's something that we're very cognizant of. Should we get the right offer, it's served its time.
Fair enough. So here's a question around sort of testing. What kind of testing do you do, or do you need to do, to ensure your technologies don't cause allergies?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of testing around dermal sensitivity and things of that nature, and toxicity and skin sensitization, things of that nature. In fact, in order to get an EPA registered product for use in textile, I mean, the amount of safety data that needs to be submitted is pretty astounding. And so those are the kinds of tests that we would do. And if it was an allergy causing product, we wouldn't be able to achieve the EPA or other regulatory registrations for the use in textiles. So that kind of answers that. Also, Jason, who is our Chief Science Officer, is a board certified epidemiologist, and has done a lot of the science and the work around allergies. We've actually previously had the Canadian seal for the Eczema Society on a number of our products to show how kind they are to people, even with irritated skin. So we do a whole host of testing. I mean, to break it down and tell you all the different methods we use, I'd gladly do so if you'd like me to, but I don't think anyone wants to hear that. But before we get any of these registrations from any country in the world, we have to be able to ensure that it doesn't cause allergies or irritation.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And the brands won't take it, right? Lululemon has had a problem with see-through pants. They don't want a shirt that gives you a rash.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, so here's a question. Are you guys the next Gore-Tex?
We hope so. I think we might be even a little bit more dynamic than Gore-Tex.
I would almost argue you guys, you cover a whole bunch of other things that Gore-Tex doesn't, but
I just want to say this, you know, there's so many different areas and ways that we can work within our technologies. We were laughed at in 2012. We worked with Holland America Cruise Lines because they had what was called the norovirus or Norwalk virus, and these cruise ships were coming in and they had to sanitize, take them out of circulation for 2 weeks, cost them millions. We worked on and it's actually the wash regime that we have now was initiated at that time, and it would have cost them $50,000 a cruise. They could have laundered everything on board ship. They had to buy no new inventory, no new tablecloths, no new linens, no new curtaining. They could have done it all in-house with the existing inventory. And we did a plethora of studies. And in fact, that's why when COVID came around, believe it or not, a lot of it is based on the technology we developed then, because it's a virus. Most of our work we've done has been bacterial. So the fact of the matter is, we know where the cruise industry is today. And so we've really had experience in the past with industries, with these pathogens. And we believe that whether it's, the word Gore-Tex, that's a compliment. I mean, we are focused. We do understand the game. We do understand our competition. And I think that in the not too distant future, people are going to hear, once we've got our next level, I think Giancarlo's been a little bit modest in that it's worth explaining to everyone. We were invited to Washington. We sat with EPA and Giancarlo and Jason Garay and other members of our staff actually wrote the US law, the US protocol for Treated Textile Act. It was written by our company. So who better as a company who wrote the law for the US EPA than us to really make the technologies that are going to get rubber stamped? We will be the world's, when we get it, we will be the world's first and only EPA textile treatment with a kill claim. There's nothing in existence today. That's going to give us years ahead. Yes, the competition, we're not naive. The competition are going to get a wake-up call like they haven't seen. They're going to have to develop chemicals. They're going to have to get their chemicals registered. They're going to have to go through all the development work to then get it certified. Are they going to do it? The answer is yes. It's going to take them years. It's taken us years. And while that happens, we've already got next generation in the pipeline, and which will just make things harder and harder. So we really, we want to make money, not get compliments, but we really are focused in who we are and what we are and what we want to achieve in the short term and in the long term.
Fantastic. I saw somewhere in your slide, insiders own 74% of the company. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The sort of top management, let's say you two guys and CFO, give us a sense of core management.
Okay. Well, my family own, I would say, probably close to 70% of that 74%.
Oh wow. Okay. So
and then our CFO and Giancarlo are the next two big blocks in internal internal ownership.
Fantastic. Do you guys have any street coverage? Any brokerage firms or anybody covering you right now?
We do. Excuse me, I'm having a brain Cornwall. Robin Cornwall. Thank you, Giancarlo. Okay. That's why we keep the young guys around, because he has followed us, and we can gladly share his coverage with us. There are other brokerage firms talking to us about starting coverage as well.
Okay, and the $11.5 million, how was that raised? Was that raised through one of the brokerage firms?
We did it with a number of. There was a lead broker and other brokerage firms came along as well. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And I did see one of your directors, I believe, participated in that financing as well.
Yes, he did. Yes, correct.
Fantastic. Yeah. Sort of last question for you guys, as investors, what sort of metrics, what should investors be really watching to make sure you guys are really on the path that you guys, expect to be?
Well, I think that, dynamically, I think that one has to, while we're going to grow in the short term on the apparel and what we call our low-hanging fruit, I think that long-term our medical play, and as I say, this next EPA thing is going to take this business. We're going to be on the radar of some big boys in North America or globally for that matter, as a possible takeover, it's something that could very well happen to our company, because we're that dynamic and we're that impressive in terms of what we've done. So when we look at the multiples, could we double our business in the next 12 months? Absolutely. Could we double and triple it the next year with what we've got, what we believe is in the pipe this year? So I really think that you're going to see double-digit growth at very least, is what our target is as a corporation. Part of our projections have actually not even included this hard surface application that Giancarlo alluded to. So they're really, this thing can spiral into something far bigger in the not too distant, in the next 12, 24 months. And a lot of resources going to go into these new applications. So I hope that gives you some color as to what we believe the future, the short-term future, really holds for this company.
Fantastic. I hope I didn't steal your thunder. We always like to let you guys sort of leave with a key message or a key takeaway that you want investors to leave with. What is that sort of key thing you want everybody to understand about the business? Maybe what should people look for over the course of the next 6 to 12 months?
I think that the next 6 to 12 months are going to see a lot more of the same in that shorter period. But I think that within, I would say, 12 to 24 months is where the next big jump is going to happen to our business. That's when we are going to have the EPA claim, and we're going to have the clinical trials, and we're going to have the next round of evidence of who we are and what we are. And I think that's going to put us, we can't keep you forever. We've had major global transportation companies, car brands. We want to use your stuff in the interior of cars, but we have to get this EPA thing put to bed in order to really take our contracts to another level. We've got one retailer in America, one order is the size of our current company. So when we are saying to the marketplace that we can double and triple, we could do that with one order.
I think the biggest thing for people to look at is us transforming from intelligent fabric technologies as a division into intelligent surface technologies as a company. And then being able to not only do what we do in the textile space, but to grow that into every other arena that we've mentioned in this call. And then strategically either spin off or create new divisions and things of that nature as we go. I think that's really the way we see it of what we're going to do in the next 12 to 24 months.
Fantastic. I mean, this is extremely exciting, and really happy you guys can join us today. I've been sort of watching you guys from a distance. Now that I've gotten a chance to meet you and understand a lot more, I'm much more impressed with what you guys have done so far. And continued success. Hopefully you guys can continue to develop these sort of things for not just for your business, but for humanity as well. Hylton, Giancarlo, iFabric Corporation, I really want to thank you guys for joining us today, and look forward to staying updated and catching up with you guys in the future.
Thanks
very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
You bet.
Take care.